Aripi Mnangagwa, where is ED? Arikupi. Right, Mnangagwa sneaks out of Zimbabwe as the nation bends and the judiciary just changed forever. Right, Triple Zimbabwe, gather around. Because what is happening in Zimbabwe right now, today, this week, at this very moment, is not normal. This is not routine. This is not routine political news you can scroll past. This is a seismic convergence of events that is reshaping the very foundations of your country, our country. The president has vanished. The judiciary has just flipped. Parliament is days away from the most explosive constitutional vote in Zimbabwe's modern history. And through all of it, Emmerson Mnangagwa is nowhere to be seen on Zimbabwean soil. Right, pano pamzinda wevanhu. Let's go. Here is your first question, Zimbabwe. When the president of Zimbabwe leaves the country, what happens? There is a motorcade. There is a formal handover of presidential powers. There are ministers, security chiefs, diplomats. The whole ceremony that tells the nation your head of state is stepping out. Here is who is in charge. These are not just traditions. They are constitutional obligations. They are what separates a democratic republic from a regime that operates in darkness. Murupabata. By constitution, so when the pictures emerged from the farewell dinner for Chief Justice Luke Malaba, one of the most consequential judicial events in Zimbabwe's recent history, and the man presiding over it was Vice President Kembo Mohadi, not President Mnangagwa. The questions began piling up immediately. Where was he? Why wasn't he there? Because here is the truth about what Malaba meant to Mnangagwa. The effort to keep Malaba in office beyond his retirement age was likely sponsored by Mnangagwa himself, as Malaba had made two significant rulings in his favor. First, he legitimized the 2017 coup that ousted Robert Mugabe. And second, he quashed a legal challenge to the outcome of the 2018 general election. This is the man who gave Mnangagwa his presidency twice. And Mnangagwa couldn't be bothered to show up at his farewell dinner. That absence is not an oversight. That absence is a statement, even if it was made against Mnangagwa's will. Because the truth is, he wasn't in the country to attend. Oh. Retired Lieutenant General Winston Gauke raised the alarm in a statement addressed to fellow Zimbabweans, claiming he had received credible reports that the president departed under cover of darkness and without any public notice. He alleged that Mnangagwa first traveled to Russia before proceeding to Belarus. Now, let's be fair. Mnangagwa has a documented long-running relationship with both Moscow and Minsk. His most recent confirmed visit to Russia took place in May 2025, when he attended the Victory Day parade on Red Square in Moscow and held talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. And just 2 weeks ago, the Belarusian ambassador to Zimbabwe presented his credentials to Mnangagwa, with both sides emphasizing a strategic cooperation roadmap for 2026 to 2030, covering industrial cooperation, agricultural mechanization, and humanitarian engagement. So the Russia-Belarus connection is real, the relationship is deep, and the deals on the table are substantial. What does Russia want from Zimbabwe? Russia does significant business in security assistance and arms supplies, mostly in exchange for mineral concessions and uninterrupted access to natural resource deposits in Africa. The last time Mnangagwa visited Putin at the St. Petersburg summit, he asked the Russian president to step up military arms and weapons supply to Zimbabwe, explaining that the West had shifted its support to Zambia. The United States is making us feel lonely. Mnangagwa said, remember. Right. Let that land for a moment. Zimbabwe's president telling Putin that America is making him feel lonely, while back home civil society, the church and constitutional lawyers are screaming about an illegal power grab. He is not looking for West for allies. He is not looking West for allies. He is going East. And when a president sneaks out of his own country to go shake hands in Moscow and Minsk with no official announcement, no motorcade, no transparency, you have every right to ask what exactly is being traded and at what cost to the Zimbabwean people. What Gauke found most disturbing was the absence of the traditional airport send-off usually attended by cabinet ministers, service chiefs, diplomats, and senior government officials, with the president's spokesperson dismissing the entire event as nothing more than a routine handover takeover of the presidents. Routine. They called it routine. The president of Zimbabwe slipping out of the country in the dead of night, days before the most explosive parliamentary vote in decades, with no ceremony, no announcement, no accountability, and the official response is nothing to see here. Zimbabwe deserves better than that. Right. While the president was boarding his mystery flight, something historic was happening in the courts of Zimbabwe. Chief Justice Luke Malaba bid farewell to the bench at a special sitting of the Constitutional Court on Wednesday, closing a judicial career spanning more than 4 decades. Though his legacy will be forever shadowed by the controversial extension of his tenure that many lawyers and civil society groups said undermined the very constitutional order he was sworn to uphold. Malaba turned 75 on Thursday, the revised retirement age introduced after ZANU-PF amended the constitution in 2021 to allow him to remain in office beyond the then limit of 70, which he had already reached in May of that year. The extension was fiercely contested, drawing legal challenges and accusations that the ruling party had manipulated the constitution to retain a favorable chief justice at a political sensitive time. Taipinda kumavhotsi kakaguru racho rinotevera muna 2023. Anipona. So think about that. They amended the constitution to keep their chief justice. That should terrify every Zimbabwean who cares about judicial independence. And who steps into that enormous void now? President Mnangagwa has appointed Deputy Chief Justice Elizabeth Gwaunza as Zimbabwe's new Chief Justice, effective May 15, 2026. Kunowachi Nas, making her the first woman to hold the country's highest judicial office, alongside her Constitutional Court Judge Paddington Garo, was appointed as the new Deputy Chief Justice, also effective from May 15. The appointments signal a new chapter for Zimbabwe's judiciary following Malaba's retirement after nearly a decade as Chief Justice. Gwaunza herself, paying tribute to her predecessor at the special sitting, called it a moment of national significance, reflecting on Malaba's legacy of justice, integrity, and public service. But here's the question that nobody in the establishment wants to ask out loud. What does a new Chief Justice mean for Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3? Malaba was the known quantity, the judge who had already demonstrated he would protect the regime when it counted. Gwaunza is an unknown quantity in that particular regard. She is accomplished, she is experienced, and she has just been handed the most politically charged judicial seat in Zimbabwe at the most politically charged moment in a generation. Her first rulings on the constitutional amendments, if they reach the courts, will define not just her legacy, but the future of Zimbabwe's democracy. Let's talk about why all of this matters. What is Mnangagwa actually trying to do? Zimbabwe's cabinet has backed draft legislation that would change the constitution to extend presidential terms from 5 years to 7, allowing Mnangagwa to stay in office until 2030. Other proposed changes include a provision that the president be elected by parliament rather than through a direct popular vote. Listen to that again. Direct popular elections gone. The people of Zimbabwe choosing their president removed. Instead, MPs, the vast majority of whom are ZANU-PF, would pick the leader, and the term extended from 5 years to 7, conveniently pushing the next election deadline to 2030. Mnangagwa, who is 83 right now, is currently meant to step down in 2028 after serving 2 5-year terms. 2 terms, that is what the constitution says. 2 terms. That is what the people were promised. This bill exists for one reason and one reason only: to keep one man in power beyond his constitutional mandate. Analysts and opposition figures have said any constitutional changes would also need to be put to a national referendum. Any amendment which has the effect of extending an incumbent's tenure should be subjected to a referendum. Ndo zvakataurwa na opposition politician David Cotter. Akati, they know that if that happens, they will fail. So they will do all in their power to prevent a referendum from happening. Right? There it is. They know they can't win a referendum. The Zimbabwean people, given an honest vote on whether to extend Mnangagwa's power to 2030, would say no. So they are trying to do it through parliament, a parliament that is ZANU-PF dominates without asking the people at all. That is not democracy. That is its opposite. Right. While Mnangagwa is somewhere between Moscow and Minsk, the man who arguably has the most to lose from a 2030 extension is sitting in Harare, watching, calculating, and saying absolutely nothing in public. Constantino Chiwenga has his own succession timeline. He begged the 2017 coup that brought Mnangagwa to power. He expected his turn would come in 2028. Every day this bill gets closer to passing, that expectation gets further away. Retired General Gauke's willingness to break ranks and publicly question the president's secret departure tells you something important. The military establishment is not uniformly behind this 2030 agenda. Some voices in uniform, even retired ones, are deeply uncomfortable. And when former generals start making public statements about a sitting president's mysterious foreign trips, that is not noise, that is signal. The question hanging over Harare right now is simple. If the bill passes, who pushes back? The courts have new leadership. The army is watching. The opposition is outgunned in parliament. The church has spoken. Civil society has spoken. Regional bodies have taken notice. But in Zimbabwe, the only language that has ever truly changed the political direction of this country was the language spoken by men in uniform in November 2017. Nobody wants to say that out loud, but everyone is thinking it. Right, pano pamzinda webantu. Let be crystal clear with you. We are living through a 5-day window that will define Zimbabwe for the next decade. A president has left the country in secret, heading to allies in the east. As a matter of fact, National 15, May 18, Parutangama Parliament talks about Bill number 3, and so it's only 3 days. Right. A 40-year judicial career has ended, and a new chief justice has taken the bench. The military is watching, the factions are positioning, and the clock is ticking toward May 19. Every Zimbabwean who cares about their constitution, their vote, and their future needs to be paying attention right now. Not next week, right now. Every step, every revelation, every move, subscribe to the channel Webanu from Zinda Webanu. And why do you think Mnangagwa left without an announcement? Is it a deal in the East, political pressure at home, or something else entirely? Drop your thoughts below. Smash the like button and share this video. Zimbabwe needs to hear this. Thank you for watching.